Wonderful. All right. Welcome, everyone. It's awesome to have you guys with us. We're over the next probably 30 to 45 minutes. Murray and I are going to be going through, basically give some insight and things into how to tap into more government revenue streams or diversify into government revenue streams. There's only so much we can do over 30 to 45 minutes, though. So I expect probably there's going to be some questions that will come out of it. So if you would like, we might have time at the end. I'm not 100% sure. But if you've got any questions or you want any follow-up, then just put your name in the chat box, and then we can go ahead and touch base with you over the next day or two and clarify anything else you might need to. But with that, we might kick off. All right. So just a quick intro, just so you know, we're not just two blokes talking to a few slides. Quick intro on myself. I'm the founder of GovReady. I started 20 years ago trying to dip my toes into government revenue streams and quite frankly failed miserably for a number of years until I worked out that I needed a plan and a strategy and figured out the pieces of the puzzle to help small businesses move into government revenue streams. A couple of years ago, I always wanted to be an author, and I thought, how can I help small business? That's where my book came about, Winning Government Business, 6 Rules and 9 Absolutes. And now my business, GovReady, what we do is we basically only work with SMEs. We help them to basically get ready for government supply, to be a sticky partner for government, and then implement a strategy to ensure that they move into government revenue streams a lot quicker than what we did back in the early 2000s. Murray?
Thanks, Tom. Welcome, everyone. I'm Murray Spears from EQA. I founded EQA about 20 years ago. I've spent all of my working life, including with various organisations before, in the quality assurance world. I've been an auditor, I've been a consultant, I've written brand new systems. So I've seen QA from every angle, and quite frankly, I was sick of the way it was being used as the whipping boy for everything. So we've worked out a way of making QA work for the business, and also as a result, it will pass an audit. But making QA simple so that everybody can benefit from it. That's what we want to do. Thanks, mate.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to kick off. I'm going to be going through a bunch of things probably over the next 20 minutes or so, and then our resident expert on all things QA, Murray's going to give some insight into the world of QA and how that can benefit getting into not just government contracts. And you're going to hear definitely me talk government. Whenever I say government, I also mean big business. Big business procures in a very similar way to government. And most things that we're going to talk about today are as relevant if you're trying to embed yourself in big business supply chains. All right. Just a quick question, if I could, before we really get into it. Just chuck it in the chat box if you could, just a Y for yes or an N for no. Who's actually tried but failed to win government contracts in the past? Or let's just say who's tried to win a government contract, not so necessarily fail, so win, lose or draw. If you could chuck yours, just a Y, yes or a no into the chat box, that'll give us a bit of an idea as to where you're at, and the audience we've got will be able to tailor a little bit more. All right, thank you. That's awesome. All right. So the government opportunity, I'm going to focus a bit more. I think we've got most of the audience here from Queensland. That was the intel that's come through. So we've given this more of a Queensland flavour, but pretty much all relevant to any all governments Australia-wide. In Queensland, as of July, 30% of procurement has been mandated to come from the small business sector. And this is really important. If you're not already aware of this, because a lot aren't, particularly a lot of the small businesses, this equates to around about an $8 billion annual pool, which has been slated to go to the smaller business sector. We got COVID to thank for this. but really happy that, that this has come about. Problem though that government has though is it's actually not enough smaller businesses who are actually putting their hand up and saying, hey, or getting ready or saying, yes, we are ready to supply and fulfill and win government contracts. But it is a massive opportunity. You might have seen in the news this morning as well. I was actually having breakfast with my kids here and watching one of the early morning news shows, and it was a big headline story on Queensland government announcing that there's $10 billion for the Olympics procurement and where to register and whatnot. And that's really good. For the Olympics, leading up to the Olympics, they're already buying for the Olympics. There's a huge opportunity here for small business sectors to tap into that. Queensland government in particular have identified a 20-year opportunity, the 10 years leading up and the 10 years post. And having been around this sort of sphere, I guess, if you like, for 20, 21, 22 years, I can emphatically reinforce that there is no better time than now to actually for small businesses to diversify into government revenue. This is a bit of a myth too. A lot of small businesses think that government is too big, right? It's too big to supply. We're never going to be able to supply or fulfill contracts. The average government contract size is $60,000. And I dare say of the 15 or 20, actually 30 people that we have in this room, the vast majority, if not all of you, your businesses are able to service and deliver a $60,000 contract. So just be aware of that. If you ever hear of anyone saying, we're too small, there's micro businesses, sole traders who we've helped move them into government revenue streams. Each state government has their own tender portal site, if you like, and this is where government will release opportunities. We have a problem, we need X, Y, Z, and they'll go out to market for that. In Queensland, that's Q tenders. Each state government has their own. But you need to be aware of this. Only 15% of all government opportunities actually come out of Q tenders. There's a lot of businesses which believe that every government or almost every government opportunity is advertised and marketed on Q tenders. That's not the case. If you are sitting in that field, then you're missing 85% of the ops. So there's panel arrangements there's many panel arrangements where government can procure up to $250,000 with you if you're on panel arrangements. And also a big one, which was big for us back in the day, was what we call BAU, or business as usual. And that's it varies from state to state, but in Queensland, it's anything less than $10,000. They don't need to go anywhere for it. It's going to businesses that they know and they trust that can deliver a particular product or a service. And it's really good for cash flow, because normally when they make a purchase under BAU, it comes with a credit card, which is really cool for small businesses. Every government now, and then we got to thank COVID for this, has a buy local policy of the different name in each state. But the federal government's also moving down this path. They are looking to supply their local suppliers first. The extra credit points, if you like, will go to businesses that submit. If you are a local business for that particular opportunity, then there's anywhere between 10 to 15%, which you will get. You automatically get that 10 to 15% before they even read your submission. So just be aware of that. Doesn't mean it's going to stop you from purchasing from interstate, but if there's stuff that's more in your backyard or more in your backyard, then really good opportunity. All right. Here's the big problem that I just sort of mentioned, is small businesses actually putting your hand up and saying, we're good to go. And this is not an easy thing either, right? There's no point in bidding for any government contracts until the business is actually ready. There's a number of things which government look for in their suppliers or their partners, and I'm going to touch on that hopefully if we've got time over the next 15 minutes or so. This slide here, this I love and I hate this slide. Very quickly, first column is the government organisation or the government department. Second column, problem. Third, value of contract. So quick example, Department of Energy and Public Works, they needed cleaning services or pressure cleaning. They went out to market for that. Value of the contract was $52,000. And this is the one that really does my head in. The total number of submissions received for that particular contract was 2. So we got a lot of businesses that we deal with them every day, and I love small business, and they're trying to get grants and things, and they're wondering why they're not getting a grant, and the grants are so competitive. The business basics grant, which was only $5,000 grant, which I'm not scoffing at $5,000. That's great. But there was tens of thousands of businesses that applied for that funding pool, which was only about $2.5 million. We got an $8 billion market here every year, and this gives you an idea of the numbers of businesses which are actually making submissions. Take a look at the bottom, the second bottom one. And forgive me if there's anyone from New South Wales here, but you'll understand where I'm going with this. This is Queensland Law Society. It was a microsite, so basically a website. I don't know if we've got any web developer designers here in the house. If so, chuck a yes in the chat box. $26,000 contract, and there was one. And I don't know whether that's a good price for a website or not, because I know this site wasn't that complex. There was one submission put forward for that, and that business came from New South Wales. So good on them, but I don't know how many web designers are in Queensland who probably could have fulfilled that contract as well. But government really had no opportunity to consider others because there was only one submission. There's a really big opportunity here for the businesses who are starting to understand the government opportunity, are ready or getting ready, and can fulfill these contracts. All right, so where to look? If you've bid for contracts before, you'll probably have a bit of an idea on this. We've got a few tenders in Queensland Contracts Directory, and that's where all the panels sit, buying categories. If anyone's here from interstate and wants more details on your own, then feel free to indicate that in the chat. Contract Directory is a maze. It's not the greatest site in the world, but this is where all the panel arrangements sit. Federal government has Oz tenders, so I imagine a few people might be subscribed to that. And then local government, local buy handle the, have buyer arrangements in place, which a lot of different bodies can buy on, but mainly it's your local council. So if you're looking into your council space, local buy is where those panel arrangements sit. And we can give you more information on that if you'd like. And this forward procurement pipeline, not every state has this, but Queensland does, which I love this, but I also, it's good and bad and a little bit ugly, and I'll explain why. This is a snapshot of the forward procurement pipeline. And we provide, there's a slide at the very end where I'm pretty sure there's links to a number of these sites that we're referencing. But you can see here, you can filter this, but this basically tells you what's coming up over the next 12 months within, in this particular situation, Queensland government. You can filter it by location, if you're in Cairns, Central Queensland, etc. You can filter it by agency, by department, by category, so general goods and services, or medical, or building construction, etc. And this gives you a bit of a look into what's happening, and it helps businesses get more aware, I guess, and get ready, start getting ready for when these opportunities do go out to market. Now, why do I think, why is this not the greatest site in the world? Unfortunately, some government departments are better than others with actually updating this and inputting this data and this information into this site. So it is not exhaustive. There are many opportunities which don't get put up on this site, but it does give you a little bit of a snapshot. All right. And this is key. It's not just getting ready for government. It's actually engaging with government decision makers the right way. Government, they work on an unofficial sort of 3% rule. And that rule, I guess, the summary of that, the 3% rule is this. Government only actually need your product or service 3% of the time. The other 97%, they don't. Problem that exists though is every business, or so many businesses, are actually trying to just pitch government decision makers or decision influencers. It's white noise. I have a vast, really wide government network, and I speak to them about this a lot. I'm not government, by the way, private sector all the way. But this is constant bugbear is the businesses, they get, they find a decision maker one way or the other, and all they do is pitch to them. And there's a 97% chance that that person doesn't need their product or service. They don't need the pitch, right? They need to know that you exist. They need to know the problem that your business solves, but they don't need to be sold. If you proactively sell to government decision makers, you're going to be thrown in the basket with everyone else. There we go. Time, 1:15. Okay. So knowledge, I don't believe is power. Knowledge is actually more understanding. This is going to be a couple of things here which are going to help you out when you are bidding for contracts. Partnerships or cooperative bids. This is when we had a client who commissioned us for a government engagement plan, and an opportunity came up for them, and they could only do about 60% of it. And we sat in and talked to them about it and gone, now they weren't going to bid. It was a big contract. They weren't going to bid. We sort of said, well, do you have any partners in place who you trust, who can work with you on this bid and who can fulfill that other 40%? And they sort of sat back and thought about it and then realized that, yes, they did. That's a perfect opportunity to submit a cooperative bid. And this is cooperative bids are when 1, 2, 3, or 4 small businesses come together to offer one complete solution for a particular tender, submission, EOI, or whatever it might be. So be aware of that. Keep your eyes and ears out for businesses that complement you, but don't compete with you. These are potential partners for you, and not just for government contracts, private sector as well. Partnerships are as good. Actually, they're more powerful in the private sector, and you can use them far more frequently. Big business does this really well. They do it really, really well. Small businesses, not mincing words, we do it pretty poorly. But cooperative bids, there's different terms for this as well. It's collaborative bids you might hear as well. They all mean the same thing though. But a bit of advice, if you're going down the cooperative bid road, one company must take the lead for that particular submission. Government, they don't want to be dealing with 4 or 5 different owners of business or directors or whatever. They just want to deal with one. Evidence. Evidence is key when making any government submission. If you can't back up what you're saying with some form of evidence, it's just words on paper. Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
You're fine, Thomas.
All right, so evidence. So third-party endorsements, evidence we need to back up. So if you can go into a submission, when you make a submission, you must say, we make the best widgets, or we do this, we're the greatest at this, we're the greatest at that. Unless you can back it up with actual evidence, it means nothing. We had a client once who we'd gone through the whole readiness, they were ready, we got them to that stage, and an opportunity came up, and they basically, this company effectively put massive roofs on really big buildings, and opportunity came up for Queensland Health. They wanted to bid for it, and we sort of sat them down and said, all right, what evidence have we got here? Have you done this for any government department before? And they said, yeah, we've done it for, we had one opportunity 5 years ago, or I think it was state development. I said, how'd it go? Fantastic, great. I said, do you have any evidence, any sort of reference from them, any photos, any of that? Didn't have anything. So evidence is key. Start compiling your evidence today if you don't already. Testimonials, awards, references. When you do good work, get feedback from your clients. These are what we call third-party endorsements. And these evidence is key. When government assessors, when procurement assessors are going through your submission, you will get much more points when they do their point system if you can back up what you say with evidence. All right. Awards are another big one too. We had a client who talked about the award. I talked about awards, and they said, "Yeah, we've got 4 or 5 different business awards." I said, "That's great. Where is it? Why isn't it on your website? Why aren't we sort of shouting that from the rooftops?" And they were sort of the inclination that they didn't want to brag. It's absolutely not bragging. This is just letting people who don't know your business know that you are a good business and you're doing good things, and you've been and that's been recognised. So a debrief, for those of you who have actually won or lost a tender, I don't know whether you demanded a debrief, but moving forward, if you make any government submission and you lose, demand a debrief. Debrief is they won't publicise this because it takes time and effort for government. They usually don't publicise it, but it's where you can sit down with them and actually find out where you fell down. Just a quick story. This was years ago now. We had a tender response. I'd already spent it. It was so perfect for the company that I was managing back then, that I was so confident we'd almost spent the money of the profits we were going to get from that particular contract. Sure enough, a month later, I get that email saying, "Dear John, dear Jane, thanks but no thanks. Please come again another day." And I was angry. Like I was a bit younger. I was certainly shooting from the hip a little bit. But there's a contact officer, and I was that angry. I just picked up the phone straight away and I rang the contact officer for this particular tender. Wasn't my finest moment, freely admit that. Luckily, I got a really good lady there. She was awesome, and she said, "Hey," she cut me off eventually, and she goes, "Hey, why don't you come down and we'll talk to you about it." And that was my first introduction to debriefs. And I didn't handle that one really well. I sort of went in a little bit unprepared, but I still got some really good intel. Debriefs, there's probably about 6 questions. A bit of advice if you ever demand a debrief or ask for a debrief. 2 weeks out from when the debrief sets, send them a list of the questions you've got, and there's about 6 that we recommend you should ask. So feel free to contact me if you ever go down this path. The debrief, send them that 2 weeks out, because the person you're going to meet probably isn't going to be able to answer them. It may not have even been part of the contract or the assessment, in which case they'll just revert back to you or a bit too expensive or something, something surface level like that. Send them the questions 2 weeks before, because they'll need to go up the chain a bit. So they'll go up the chain and get the answers that they need for you, so that when you do meet with them, you're going to get a lot more relevant intel and really help you for your next submission. And in fact, even if you win, right, when you win, still demand a debrief, because we want to find out what they liked, right? Because you're going to emphasize that probably on other contracts that you're going to bid for down the track. Debriefs are really, really powerful. Network. You're sort of doing this by coming to this event, but government put on lots of networking events. And for one of our clients, we gave them a list of events that were coming up, and there's events, right, you're going to walk away with saying there's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. But there's other ones where you'll walk away going, that was really, really good. I met some good people, found some good opportunities. We had a client who went to an event that we'd recommended for them. They were just sitting down on a couch at the conference at lunchtime, as you do at these conferences. And then a few people from Department of Small Business asked if they could sit down with them. Long story short, they got chatting, found out about what they did. These people from small business loved it. And that's evolved into a $150,000 opportunity just from going to that event. So you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to achieve or get out of those particular events. 2032 Olympics, huge amounts of opportunity here. You name it, they're going to need it to buy it at some stage. And I guess on that too, I want to talk about the diversity of government supply. Government, almost all 3 levels, need almost anything and everything at some particular stage. Pressure cleaning, designers, hairdressers, what else? There's you virtually. What was the one we came across the other day? There was like a $1.2 million contract for shark bait, and that one caught my eye. The feds went out with one the other day, which is $2.2 million contract. And I kid you not, this was the heading of the tender. It was large, shiny green mung beans. and that one blew me away as well. Climate friendly though, 2032 Olympics, government are looking for businesses which have a climate friendly or some sort of sustainability policy there. So if you are looking at bidding for specific Olympic opportunities, recommend you have a chat with Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland. They've got a free program called EcoBiz, which is actually funded by Queensland government. So it's valued by Queensland government, and that can really, they specialise for small businesses. They can come in and won't cost you much, but apart from time, EcoBiz is a really good way to show that sustainability play. How are we going for time? All right, I'm gonna move on. Website, keep it simple, clean, updated. What problem do you solve? There's a company called Wemo, W-E-M-O-W, just to give you an example. The problem they solve is we give people back their weekends. Anyone want to guess what they do? They mow lawns. But that problem you solve needs to be front and center on your website, because when government are going to hit your site, they're looking for a problem to be solved. We've already talked about the 3% rule, so with that, I'm going to hand over to Murray, who's going to spend a few minutes talking to you about the QA and hopefully fill in some gaps you might have there. So over to you, Murray.
Thank you. It won't be a few minutes. It'll be probably the most exciting 8 hours you're going to spend with anyone now, as we talk everything QA. Just as Tom did before, just can everyone just put a Y or an N in the meeting chat there, just to see whether you've gone down the QA path before. And okay, so we've got a mixed group, but most of you obviously have heard of it and know about it, and some of you have even played the game, so that's good. So I'll just start with a couple of horror stories about QA, and these we've been getting from our clients, and I will stress these were comments before they worked with us to get their quality assurance. So we had one client told us that QA was something that was made up by a group of consultants to earn big money and create a market for something that wasn't necessary. That hurt. Another one told us that it was a waste of time and all you did was create paperwork for some auditor to turn up one day a year and have a look at it. And another one said, well, we're just wasting 9 months of our time and we mightn't even pass an audit. So what's the point of even trying? And that's just three of the many nightmare stories that we've heard. Just on a point that Tom made before about the Olympics, there are a lot of contracts have already been awarded and a lot of businesses are already doing it. What that's actually going to do, from what we're seeing, is create a vacuum just underneath for medium businesses to sort of rise up and take some places. So it may not necessarily be the Olympics, but there will definitely be vacuums created from those bigger companies moving up. So something to keep in mind. So the simple fact is that more and more government departments are insisting on ISO 9001 as a minimum to do business with them. Now, this isn't bureaucracy gone mad or trying to control businesses, but rather these government departments want to have peace of mind that they're dealing with a reputable company. Now, the government departments in particular that you're going to be looking to work with are not always experts and they don't have all the answers, but they're always looking for industry leaders to help them achieve the outcomes they need from their projects. So in order to work with the government departments, as Tom said before, you need some sort of evidence, objective evidence to demonstrate that you're reputable. And that's where ISO 9001 certification comes in. It's an international certification standard that allows businesses to demonstrate the effective application of quality assurance. So essentially an ISO 9001 certificate is a key that opens the door and it gives you an opportunity to demonstrate that you are a leader in your industry. And also further to one of Tom's points before, it allows the government to know you actually exist, which is a huge step. Obviously, I'm having a look through the group there, and the answers there. We're all at different stages of our life, different knowledge levels, and that. So I'll just quickly go through and explain, number one, what QA is, and number two, why we do it. So QA, or quality assurance, is quite simply a way to assure the quality of the product or service that you provide. So it's a case of doing the job right the first time and every time. And there are only two things that come out of quality assurance, no matter what anyone tells you. Number one is a happy customer, and number two is continual improvement of your business. Now, a happy customer is a repeat customer, a paying on time customer, and a say nice things about you an industry customer. And we all want that. Continual improvement. As most of you would be aware, the 7 most expensive words in business are, but we've always done it that way. So continual improvement is not about change for the sake of change. It's the act of where you actually stop, take a couple of steps back, obviously looking behind you, don't walk backwards in a factory, and just asking one question when you're looking at a process or a task: is this the best way to do it? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be yes, but at least you've had a look. So you don't change things for the sake of doing it. So ISO 9001, the quality assurance standard, is a tool. It's only a tool, and it's there to enhance and manage your business. It's not an inflexible set of rules there to break your business. When you're implementing quality assurance in your business, there are 2 steps. The first step is you document what you do and why you do it. Ignore the standard, ignore everything you've ever heard before. Just document what you do in your business and the reason why you do it. Then the trick is to take that standard, twist it, turn it, fold it, and make it fit into your business. So I can give you a couple of quick examples of where we've done that. We had a Western Australian transport company years ago rang us and said, we've missed this year's tender, but we want to be on the front foot for next year's tender. So we got 14 months to be ISO 9001 certified. So a bit of back and forth. I hopped on a plane, legged it over to Perth, and I did what EQA does. We documented the business, we twisted and turned that standard, we made it fit into the business, and 12 working days later, we had them certified with a certificate. Now, what that meant was that they are able to go for that contract that year and get it the next year. So a $1.2 million contract actually turned into a $2.4 million contract. And that was done because we didn't change the business. We documented what they did and we made the standard fit the business. Another company we deal with in Brisbane, they're a solar company, and they worked out a few years ago that the residential solar market was becoming very competitive. So they decided to get quality, safety, and environmental certification. And what this meant is they could move into dealing with government and also dealing with big business as well. So effectively, 2 things happened. They've doubled their customer base because they can now work with big companies and government. And also, they can choose with whom they want to work, which is a very big thing, rather than having to take every job to pay the bills. So essentially what they've done now is they've future-proofed the business because they know the right mix of government, big industry, and residential that keeps the business going and makes the money. So giving them the power back. I spoke before about continual improvement. I absolutely love this story. We have a client in northern New South Wales who was a macadamia nut processor, and I was down there one day and the boss came in, kicked the door in, yelling, screaming, swearing. I had to Google some of the words to find out what he was talking about. They weren't nice, but they weren't directed at me. Just saying he's got no time, he's got no time. So I calmed him down a little bit and I said, tell me what you've just been out there doing. And I just wrote down line by line what he was doing. Took him into the warehouse, grabbed the warehouse supervisor. I said, you've got a forklift ticket? And he said, yep. I said, do you know how to do these jobs? Showed him the list. He goes, yep, I've seen the boss do them every morning and afternoon. I said, okay, that's now your job and you're not doing it anymore. So the boss was, well, he smiled, grimaced. And as we were walking back, I said, so how long does it take you to do that job every day? And he said, well, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. I said, okay, so you've saved 30 minutes a day. What I need you to do is just shut your mouth and humor me for a little while. I want you to spend 10 of those minutes just standing in your factory, looking at something. Don't talk to anyone. Don't take your phone in there. Don't think about anything. Just look at it and watch. A couple of months later, I was down there. And he said, you must be a magician. And of course, I agreed with him. And he said, I worked out from standing there one day that we had a lot of viable macadamia product going out in our shell waste. So he extended the conveyor belt, employed 4 people, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, to pick out the viable product. What this did is it put $189,000 a year on his bottom line. Now, I was pretty happy. He wasn't so happy because what he'd done is he'd gone back and worked out how much money he'd lost over the last 5 years. And yeah, I think he could have bought a small island, but he wasn't too happy about that. So look, the main points I want to just cover from my talk today. ISO 9001 and quality assurance is becoming more and more of a requirement to work with government. Is that the next slide, mate? Thank you. That ISO 9001, it gives the government department or your clients peace of mind that you're reputable and actually some objective evidence that you've got things in place. Quality assurance is there to enhance, not change the way you do business. Very, very important. It's there to enhance your business. And ISO 9001 certification is the key that opens doors that you currently can't open. It at least gets you in there and gives you a fighting chance to join the fight. So I'll leave you with this one thing. ISO 9001 is a qualification for your business that demonstrates you have your customers' best interest at heart and gives them peace of mind that you're an industry leader with whom they should be working. Thank you very much. Tom?
No, thank you, Murray. Yeah, if you haven't gathered by now, this is why I consider Murray the go-to in the QA space. And yeah, I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg what he's covered there in 5 to 10 minutes. Just to I guess an addition to that as well, for your lower level contracts with government, ISO is not a must-have, but it's certainly going to help. As you move into those more medium and larger opportunities, ISO then becomes more and more important. So just factor that, keep that in mind as well. Here's a few resources for you. EQA, that's Murray, they are the go-to in this space. Where you can register for the Brisbane 2032 opportunities that I was mentioning this morning. That will take you there. The pulse check here, there's already businesses in this room who should be fulfilling government contracts, but for whatever reason you're not. The pulse check here, that's 22 questions. It's designed to basically assess your business as to how ready you are at this very moment in time for government supply. Take you about 10 minutes to do. We get a lot of clients who, when they do this, they're shooting 90, 95, and they're ready to go. State tenders is Q tenders, federal tenders is for the tenders.gov.au, that's Oz tenders. And miraculously, I think we're on time. All right, we got about 5 minutes. So I don't know whether or not everyone's got any questions you want to ask. Maybe put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question. This is all about contact details. That QR code will take you, if you want to have a chat to Murray or myself, that QR code will just a contact us form. It'll take you straight there. Love to have a chat with anyone at some stage if you want to any more information or anything that we can sort of help you with. With that, if there's not any questions that anyone sort of wants to put up, then Murray and I would definitely like to thank you all for coming along today. Our goal is we've been to so many webinars where you walk away going, oh, that was just a pointless. Really hopeful that you at least take a couple of things away from the information that we've shared with you today. That would be that's our goal, and hopefully we've helped you in some ways to firstly clarify and understand the government and big business opportunity, and then some ways which are going to sort of give you a bit of an edge over your competition. So yeah, with that, I'm going to sign off. Again, thank you everyone for coming along today, and don't be a stranger. Hopefully we'll catch up at some stage, and yep, thank you. And
just on that, Tom, before we go, you've got our email addresses there. Everyone, just would much rather that you flick us an email or ask a question. We're more than happy to point you in the right direction. So don't be afraid to reach out or think that you're going to get an invoice straight away. Well, not from me, maybe from Tom. But yeah, please ask any questions. We'd much rather help you to get on the right track yourselves, and then assist in any way after that. Thank you.